sometimes people get it twisted. Hold on. Before I do that, let me put this link in the chat just in case if somebody wants to come in and join the live, because I like talking to people. I can get their input, everything. So I'm live now. All right. I just put the link in there. If anybody want to join, there's the link right on the side. I will say it like this. A lot of people tell you, they'll say things like, you ain't got to do nothing wrong. Excuse me. A lot of time, a lot of things happen to you. Yes, it's in the Bible that you reap what you sow. It's in the Bible, you reap what you sow. But sometimes, no matter how nice you are, no matter how good you are, people don't give a damn about that. They don't care. Like, if you can be a good person and they'll still recognize you. They still won't recognize you. They look at you like you crazy or like something wrong with you. Hey, how you doing? What's going on? Yeah, you done made it. Okay, yeah, I'm in here. Yep. Yeah. So they don't really care nothing about you know what I'm saying? They just don't, it ain't gonna work like that. Sometimes you wish life can work like that, but obviously it don't. I had a reason for bringing this up because that's a very important topic. You see what I'm saying? Like some people say, well, be careful. You speak, you do wrong. It's gonna catch up with you now. Something bad gonna happen to you. Like they say stuff like that. But see what it is. You people have the power and the willpower is to curse you. Now I can talk like I want over here. I got some stuff that I'm gonna get off into. May not be able to cover it all tonight, but I do have a lot of videos. You're probably gonna be shocked at a lot of the videos over here that I have, because you probably won't be over here. I teach, or I say, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American people are the real Jews according to the Bible. And I can prove everything. Everything can be proven out of the Bible. But a lot of people don't really take pride, and I don't know why. You see what I'm saying? Like, what is going on? What is the issue? Like, if somebody tell you from Judah, you a Jew, according to the Bible, because only so-called black people, our forefathers and foremothers came over here on slave ships. No other race of people went through that. A Chinese man can't read the Bible and can look at that and say, oh, that's talking about me. So-called white man, definitely, he's number one. He can't look at and read the stories of slavery and say, oh, that applied to me and my people. No, because it's not going to resonate with him. You know, he'll be consumed by looking at it because they people, and because see, you have to understand there's 18 nations in the Bible, and I can take time and I can actually prove all of that. But one of the things that what happened was, you look at Deuteronomy chapter 28. Deuteronomy chapter 28 is dealing with the curses that God put upon Israel. He said, if these people, these specific people in Deuteronomy, so you go to Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 1, God is speaking to a specific people. And this is something that the Christian churches has not been telling our people for decades. They've been in the church teaching our people that God loves everybody and God this and that and the third. No, God only loves the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American people, which are the real Jews according to the Bible. They take John 3:16, right? Don't everybody use that text and quote it all across the globe to try to say that God so loved the world. It means they trying to lump everybody in there. And if you go to Isaiah, the book of Isaiah, chapter 45 and 17, it's the context of John 3:16, and it clearly tells you who he's addressing. And if you go to Luke chapter 1 and verse 68, and it'll address him clearly who his people are. You see what I'm saying? And then in Matthew chapter 2, verses 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, God is addressing who his people are. He not only tell you he came to redeem his people, but he specifically called them out by name. But this is something that they have not, that they will never tell you. The so-called white man was not going to tell you these things. And it's going deep into his history. The so-called white man's history is in the Bible. If you go into Genesis chapter 25 and verse 25, the Bible said the first came out red all over like a hairy garment. And they call his name Esau. Esau is the biblical name for the so-called Europeans or the Caucasian people, or the white man, the so-called white man. And the reason we say he's the so-called white man is because they call themselves that. God never called nobody a color in the Bible at all. He never called nobody a color. He never, the white so-called white man, he's not white, he's red. Genesis 25:25 said, the first came out red all over like a hairy garment. They red and hairy all over. You see what I'm saying? But it's a lot of history behind that, and we can take time to go off into that. That's just kind of like a wet taste of what I'm going to be talking about. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 1 and verse 1. Let's give you an example of who God is talking to. Because the book of Deuteronomy was written to a specific group of people, and God said if these people did not keep his commandments or obey his commandments, he said that he was going to do something to Israel. He said he was going to curse the children of Israel. All throughout the Bible, from Genesis to Revelation, he said he will curse these people, and these people will undergo some terrible tragedies in the world. And when you look at the Bible, a lot of people are confused about who the real Jews are. You see what I'm saying? All of that is going on. But the way you can tell who the real Jews are and the solution, I'm going to give you the solution for us so that we will know how to come back. We can come back and we'll talk later. I mean, I can give you all the solutions all in one, because I know some people, when you start talking like this here, a lot of questions is going through our minds, just like me. I'm still learning. I don't know everything, but I do know when I'm looking at the context, this Bible is not talking about everybody. This Bible is not it's not a white man's book. If you would have met me in 2016, I'd been telling you the Bible is a white man's book. But I came to a conclusion that this Bible was written by the Israelites, to the Israelites, and for the Israelites only. God only gave his laws to one specific group of people. Now I can prove all of that out the Bible. Now let's read Deuteronomy chapter 1 and verse 1. This is Moses talking to an audience of people. And we're going to find out who he is addressing in this text. Right here in Deuteronomy chapter 1 and 1. So here we go. It says, these be the words which Moses spake unto all Israel on this side Jordan. Because see, they had to meet obstacles, they met them giants and all that kind of stuff, and they underwent a lot of challenges. And that's why Joshua was he had to fight a lot of wars in the Bible, because the Most High God had put curses upon the people, upon the children of Israel, because he said if they didn't do something, he was going to do this. And I'm going to show you what this is that he did to these people in the Bible. Let's read Deuteronomy 1:1 one more time. It said, these be the words which Moses spake unto all Israel. Now, if you got a house, right, and if you got children, if you got 5 children, are you talking to the neighbor's children, or are you talking to your children? No, you're only talking to your children. You're not talking to your neighbor's children at all, because you only give a shit about your children. You don't give a damn about nobody else's. I mean, this is just paraphrasing and just, you know what I'm saying? That's all I'm doing. Yeah, teach me something I don't know. And we have to, if you got a Bible, we got to pick up our Bible. Not only that, but I want to share with you something. See this right here? This book right here? This is called the Apocrypha. This is called the Apocrypha. What the Apocrypha means, the word Apocrypha means the hidden books or the lost books of the Bible. Esau, the so-called white man, had taken a lot of these things out of the Bible. They took like 80 some books out of the Bible. They said it was 66 books in the Bible, but no, that's a lot. It's like 80 some books out of the Bible. And I'm going to show you the ones that they took out of the Bible. Because see, one thing about me, I can do a lot of rambling, but I can actually prove what I say. Let's do that right quick. The book of the Apocrypha. The first Ezra chapter 9, page 1. Second Ezra chapter 16 to 14. The book of Tobit chapter 14 and verse 36. Judite chapter 16 verse 43. The rest of Esther chapter 6 and verse 50, page 55. The Wisdom of Solomon, they took that out of the Bible because, you know, the book of Ecclesiastes in the King James is part of the Bible. You see what I'm saying? Because it's like Ecclesiastes is like, it has 51 chapters. But really, I mean, it has 12 chapters in the King James. But really, altogether, it's like 50 some chapters. It's like 51 chapters. That's what it is. It's 51 chapters in the Bible. All right, now let's go on. Ecclesiastes, 51 chapters. Look at that. Those are the rest of the lost books of the Bible. These are the books. They took these out of the Bible because they didn't want you to know who you are according to the Bible. The so-called white man, I'm going to say this here. The so-called white man is the goddamn devil that the Bible speaks of. That's what he is. Because they went around and they raped, robbed, and murdered our people. They did. And that's why when you go into every city, state that you live in, you see us living in the slums and in the ghettos. Everywhere you go. Single parent household. All of that is in the Bible. Yep. Our mothers, we living in fatherless home, meaning that we don't have, if there's no man in the house. And they set this up on purpose. You have a lot, now you do have a lot of us that are blessed. A lot of us grew up with our fathers. And a lot of them, and those that all praises to the Most High. But a lot of us didn't grow up with our fathers. Like I don't know if you grew up with your father. I didn't grow up with mine. My brothers didn't grow up with theirs. And I'm only using, the reason I'm talking like this here is because this is documents. And I'm going to lead you. There are other people out there that's speaking on this too. If you look on YouTube, you have a lot of the brothers that's on the streets outside speaking on the same thing. You see what I'm saying? Because I want to prepare myself to be able to go to the streets. But here's the, let me recite the rest of the books. Baruch, the book of Baruch with the epistle. The word epistle just means a letter. The book of Baruch, the epistle of Jeremiah 6, page 102. The Song of the Three Holy Children, chapter 108. The history of Senate 1, page 109. Baal and the dragon, page chapter 111. The prayer of Messiah, 113. Okay, here is the book of Maccabees, chapter 16. First Maccabees, chapter 16, page 113. The book of Second Maccabees, chapter 15, verses 1 and 39. That's right. Okay, see, that's a curse. The Bible calls that a curse. Now I'm going to read that in the Bible. First, let's go to Lamentation. Let's go to Lamentation right quick. Lamentation, that's a book right after Jeremiah. Yeah, right after Jeremiah. Okay. The book of Lamentation, chapter 1, the book of Lamentation, chapter 5, and verse 1. Remember, O Lord, what is come upon us. Consider and behold our reproach. Verse 2. Our inheritance is turned to strangers. Now, when it says our inheritance is turned to strangers, that's going into the people who are alien, people who are our enemies, such as Esau, so-called white man. The strangers is ruling over us. The strangers have our inheritance is turned. It means your culture, your language was stripped from you, and you have to ask yourself, what was you speaking before you start speaking English. Before you start speaking English, we had our original language. And our original language is Hebrew. Yahushua, that's his real name. All this is documented in the Bible. All right, let's go on to verse 3. We are Lamentations chapter 5 and verse 3. We are orphans and fatherless. Fatherless means there is no fathers in the home. We are orphans and fatherless. We are orphans and fatherless. Our mothers are as widows. We have drinking our water for money. Now, what that sound like? When they say we have drinking our water for money, what does that sound like? Verse 4, I'm actually literally reading this out of the Bible. This was prophesied by our forefathers, the prophets. It says, we have drinking our water for money. Our wood is sold unto us. That means we got to go to the so-called white man for everything. Verse 5, our necks are under persecution. We labor and have no rest. That means we ain't never at peace with these so-called white men. And the other nations. The Chinese people haters, they are enemies too. Their history is in here in the Bible too as well. Our necks are under persecution. This is in the Bible. I'm literally reading this out the Bible. I bet you a lot of ministers that be talking how many more shout the Lord bless. All that ain't nothing but madness. That's Christianity. Christianity done dumbed our people down. Christianity itself is worse than goddamn crack. It is. Because it have led our people astray. We don't know nothing about our nationality. We don't know who the hell we are. We don't know where the hell we descend from. It's because we've been lied we've been lied to for so damn long in these Christian churches. It's like we worse than a drug addict. I believe a drug addict can be have a chance of being rehabilitated than a so-called Christian person in the church. I really do, because you will find if you try to come to your people and try to open their eyes and say we need it. That's the reason why we don't love one another. We don't love each other. You know why? Because that's a curse. Those are one of the curses that God said we will experience if we didn't keep the commandments. Now let's go back to Deuteronomy chapter. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse. Let's read verses 1 first. Deuteronomy 28 and verse 1. I'm gonna start there and then I'm gonna kind of skip a little bit. Let me bring this out. Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 1. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God. That means hearken means is to listen. That's what it means. If we hearken diligently, that means diligently. That means continually, diligently. To observe. To observe means is to pay attention. If we continue to listen to him and pay attention. Pay attention and listen to me. That's what the word observe means. So that's what I'm doing, breaking it down. Observe and to do all his commandments, which I commanded thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. And all these blessings shall come upon thee and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God. Blessed should thou be in the city. Now, you live in the city of Arkansas, right? Now, everywhere you live in the city, even though no matter where you live in any city, state, whether you go into Germany, Spain, anywhere, you're going to see our people at the bottom. Our people, because you have to remember, our people is scattered all and everywhere, all over the world. And the Bible talks about our people being scattered amongst these other nations. You see what I'm saying? So when God is talking to, when you hear the word Gentile in the Bible, the word Gentile doesn't mean that he's talking to a non-Gentile. A Gentile simply means a non-Israelite people. It usually means a non-Israelite person. That's what it says in the dictionary. Let's go on. Verse 3. Blessed shall thou be in the city. If you look at us as a nation right now, we are not blessed at all. And I definitely can speak to all of that. I can relate to that. Living in a single parent household, I can relate to that. Going on trying to work on a job and you ain't getting paid right. You living in a certain area and you just don't, it just seems like you can't pull up and you can't move up and you can't really do what you need to do. and try to do something better with your life and stuff. A so-called white man, a white woman, a Chinese, they got a business. The so-called Africans and all them, they got their own business. Now, just because we look alike, that doesn't mean we're the same people. You see what I'm saying? Because you have Israelites, Hebrew Israelites, who look like they're Caucasian, but they actually goes by the father. The Bible says it goes by the seed of your father. So you are what your father is, not what your mother is. It doesn't matter what your mother is, it matters what your father is. Let's go on. Blessed should thou be in the city, and blessed should thou be in the field. When they say blessed should thou be in the city, and blessed should thou be in the field. Now he's saying, now the field represents the minimum wages job. When you go on a job, if you look at our people, and like including myself, when we worked on these jobs over the years, we never got a fair pay. We never got a good minimum wages pay. We've been always screwed over and all of that on these jobs when it came to pay, because they don't want to pay a so-called black person right. They don't want to do that. They treat you unjustly when it comes to minimum wages. And so you on a job working 40 hours a week, you working 20 to 12 to 13 hours and 14 hours a day sometimes. You see what I'm saying? And when you look at your money, it just still like, damn, it seemed like I just went in vain working, because they don't want to really don't. And all of these things is against the so-called black and Hispanic. That's who these things is against. The Hispanic people are the real Jews too. They tribe in the Bible is Issachar. Issachar in the Bible. I can prove that. Let's go on. Verse 4. Blessed shall be the fruit of thy body. If you look at our children, who feels, okay, wait a minute. Blessed shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy ground, and the fruit of thy cattle, and the increase of thy kind, and the flock of thy sheep. Blessed shall be thy basket and thy store. That means we will own our own business. If you look at us as a nation of people, even if we do decide to have a business and a land, we still got to go to the other. We still got to go to the so-called white man for everything. When you need water, you still got to go to the so-called white man. No matter how far you get up on your feet, even if you climb to the feet and become a billionaire, you still got to depend upon the so-called white man, because they control everything. The other nations, no matter where you go at, the so-called white men control everything. They poison the water. They did all of that. I did too. I left Christianity too. I see that. I left Christianity this year. And you know what? You're right on time. I left, I used to be a Seventh-day Adventist, and I joined the movement and became part of the movement in 92. I came part of the movement in 92. I was 17 years old. Coming fast forward, going to 2014 was the year that I left and I departed from the movement. You see what I'm saying? Because I really realized that religion is based upon white supremacy. And if you look at the Bible is not a religious book. The Bible is a history book with your history in it, with our history in it, because there are 18 nations in the Bible, and only God chose one nation of people to be His chosen people, and that those were the Hebrew Israelites. Now let's go and let's skip and let's go to verse 15. If we didn't listen to God, and this is the reason why we're at the bottom, because we didn't do a simple thing that God asked us to do. And let's do this. But the solution to this here is for us is to come back to these. Let's read Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verses 15. The Bible says, and it shall, in verse 15 of Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 15, but it shall come to pass, if thou, that means it's going to happen, if thou will not hearken, that means if you don't listen unto the voice of the Lord thy God. That means the voice of God means that if you don't keep the commandments, if you don't pay attention to get an understanding of this Bible and read the words and observe and to do all His commandments, His commandments and His statutes, which I commanded thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Sometimes have you noticed that some of our people get into accidents and they still come out, because God said He was going to be merciful to His people anyway. Have you ever, anybody that has been in an accident and they managed to still come out and God still have His protection upon them? These are the curses and the punishments that God is putting up on us. And that's why he allowed Esau, the so-called white man, is to rule over us, because we broke God's commandments. And God didn't want to do it, but we pissed God off. And he turned around and he sent out enemies against us is to punish us, to let us know that how much he loves, because he said that in Hebrews chapter 12 and a couple of verses 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 19, 20. He said that whom the Lord loves, he chastens, whom he loves, he corrects. So God is chastising us through these punishments that he put upon Israel. And the Bible's on dealing with Israel. And he put these punishments upon us because we didn't take the time, we didn't listen to him when he asked us to do one simple thing, is to keep the commandments. The preachers is running around here lying in the Christian church, telling people that they don't have to keep the commandments. How many commandments were you taught in the church? Before you write it, or before you even, I know what you think before it's being wrote in there, they taught us it was 10 commandments, but really, sister, it's 613 commandments in the laws of God. It's 613. Yes, that's how many it is. Now let's keep reading. It says, verse 16, curses should not be in the city. That's what I just read in Deuteronomy 1. We cursed in the city. That means we cursed in the work field. All that. We cursed on the job. We cursed when it comes to trying to make a minimum wages on the job. Curses shall not be in the curses shall be which curses shall not be in the city, and curses shall not be in the field. Curses shall be thy basket in thy store. That means we don't own our own businesses. You're gonna go in the store and you just don't even have hardly no money. You have to pay for all the stuff that you got. You have to take some. You know how you get up to the counter and you have to take some of it off, some of the food off. Like you ain't able to pay for. That's a curse, because we don't have money like that. It's to be the so-called black people, so-called people of color, his so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American people are the real Jews according to the Bible. And we hate each other. You see what I'm saying? That's why we look at each other side-eyed. That's why you find it. Do you know it's even a curse when a woman, she said, oh, I don't need a man. Because Esau, the so-called white man, told her that they don't need that, because they don't want order in the house, because they know who we are. They know who the real Jews are. And they envious of that, and they are your enemy, to tell you, because they're trying to keep the Jew man separated from the Hebrew woman. They know who you are, and that's why they try to put a distinction, because they aim is trying to destroy the seed of Israel and all those things in the Bible. Let's go on. Curses should not be in the city, and curses should not be in the field. That means that our forefather Negro was working in the field, working in the cotton field, and had their backs beat in and all that kind of stuff for several hours and all that kind of stuff. And things of nature. That's what it means when we say cursed in the work field. Today we cursed in the modern day work field called the job. That means we don't get paid hard on these jobs. You get into an argument with your boss like I did. All those things. They be trying to, they see you have been there longer and all that. They instead of them loving you, they envy you, and they do something to try to get you out the way. And this will come from our own people. These are part of the curses. All right, let's keep going on. Curses shall thou be when thou comest in, and curses shall thou be when thou goest out. When it says curses shall thou be when thou comest in, meaning that when we are born into this world, we are born poor, so-called black, Hispanic, and Native American people. All born into this world. When we born into this world, we don't have nothing. We come into this world, we poor. We leave this world, we are poor. That's what that's going into. Curses should thou be when thou comest in, and curses should thou be when thou goest out. And then verse 20 said, and the Lord should send upon thee curses and vexation and rebuke, and all that thou settest thy hand unto to do, settest thy hand unto to do, until thou be destroyed, until thou perish quickly, because of the wickedness of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me. That means we didn't keep the commandments. And the Lord shall make the pestilence cleave unto thee. Cleave unto he have commanded, he have consumed thee from off the land, whether thou goest to possess it. The Lord shall smite thee with a consumption, with a fever, and with inflammation. and examine and burning, and with it, and with the sword, and with the blasting, and with mildew, and they shall pursue thee until thou be destroyed. He said consumptions and inflammation. That's called what you call swelling. You know, you get all these things in your body and stuff. Then they got another disease. They said gout. Gout. Y'all, I don't know if you ever heard of gout. Those things, all those things are curses. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to skip, and I'm gonna read right here. And I want you to tell me if you can relate to this. Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 28. And the Lord shall smite thee with madness, and with blindness, and with astonishment of heart. That means astonishment means when we say he shall smite thee with madness, that's going into talking about going into how our people is drunk with Christianity. We follow the ways of America. You see what I'm saying? We follow the ways of America. Do you not know what America means? America is named after one white man, and Africa is another white man's name. So that those were two people that conquered this land. Africa conquered our people. Then they named this land America because America was set up by in July the 4th, 1776, when they celebrated the Independence Day of July, and they were celebrating the birth of America because they conquered the Native American Indians. Because they took, and what happened was they killed off over 100 million Native American Indians, which were the real Jews over here, and they slaughtered a lot of our people and stuff. They slaughtered our forefathers and foremothers, and they took this land. They raped, robbed, and murdered, and took this land. This is how the so-called white men got America. This is how they got the banks and all that stuff, because they came over here and tricked the Native American Indians, and they took this land and made it their own. Now they walking around calling themselves the $5 Indians and all that kind of stuff, which is a complete lie and all that kind of stuff. Now let's go and let's read some more of these curses right quick. Deuteronomy chapter 28 and 29. And thou shalt grope at noonday, as the blind gropest in darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and shall be only oppressed and spoil evermore. That means we're gonna spoil. In other words, spoil means we're gonna our people is hating each other. They love the so-called white man, and they love their enemies more than they love their own people, the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American people. And no man shall save thee. Now listen to this one. Listen to this one. It says, verse 30 of Deuteronomy 28 and 30, thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof. That's going into how the so-called white man is living off of the blood money of the sweat and the hard work of so-called Black and Hispanic men. They living off the sweat, blood, and tears of how our people worked hard. We worked hard and built up this place. We the one pay our taxes and all of this. If it wasn't for our people, the so-called white men and all them other nations, they wouldn't even exist, because they need the Hebrew Israelites, the chosen people of God, is to help keep this country up. You see what I'm saying? So that's what they have done. How they get America? They stole America. They went around everywhere, and they did that, and they renamed these lands. They named these land masses like Spain. The word Spain just simply means the word Mexican just simply means the property of Spain. Them Spaniards that's over there, and them Spaniards ain't nothing but white people. That's all them Spaniards is. They just all the same people. So when you hear the word Spaniard, when you hear the word German, the Ukrainians, and all that's Esau. That's the so-called white man. All of them, because the so-called white man is the one that run the world. You see what I'm saying? They doing that. And also, the Bible said that there's a judgment. I'm kind of jumping the gun a little bit. Let's keep reading. Thou shalt, let's read verse 30 one more time. Deuteronomy 28 and 30. Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof. That means you look at the Hispanics. Look at the Hispanic people. The Hispanic people works hard. They build. You see them working hard from sun up to sundown. Their history is in Genesis 49. We're gonna get into that another day. But I'm gonna stick with this right now. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verses 58. Deuteronomy 28 and verse 58. And you probably can go back and watch the video and remember the scriptures. However high I can do it, I can take and put the scriptures in the description box. Let's read Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 58. Deuteronomy 28, 58. It says, if thou wilt not observe to do all the words of this law that are written in this book, talking about the Bible, that's the Torah, the commandments, that's the Moses had the laws and stuff like that, that thou mayest fear this glorious and fearful name, the Lord thy God. Then the Lord will make thy plagues wonderful. The plagues is like COVID-19 and all that. This is actually, it's not, and you ain't gonna find coronavirus directly in the Bible like that, but it's actually was prophesied through Moses over 3,000 years that these diseases would come upon our people if we didn't keep the commandments of God and if we didn't walk in his commandments. Then the Lord will make thy plagues wonderful, and the plagues of thy seed. The seed means your offspring, your children, the Hebrew people, and even great plagues, and of long countenance, and sore sicknesses of long countenance. Moreover, he will bring upon thee all the diseases of Egypt, which thou was afraid of, and they shall cleave unto thee. Verse 61, also every sickness and every plague which is not written in the book of this law, then will the Lord bring upon thee until thou be destroyed. He said the plague, what is the corona? All of those things were plagues that the Most High God brought upon our people. Who is more beautiful, Prom, Agir, or Bree? Okay, hold on. Wait a minute, hold on. Let me make sure I'm reading that right. Bernadette Barncat. She is the daughter. No good times. Choose her. Who is more beautiful? Palm gear. I don't want to say that wrong. Okay. The Banakata. She is the daughter. No good times. I chose her. Oh, okay. I guess he might have just be a little bit more specific, I guess. But who is more beautiful? I don't hold on. I don't know. I don't want to say that wrong because I don't want to. Yeah, he got to be a little bit more specific. I want to make sure I don't want to say it wrong. You know what I'm saying? But when you look at Deuteronomy 28 and verse 68, the Bible says, and the Lord shall bring thee unto Egypt again with ships. That means this is how our forefathers got to America. A lot of our forefathers came over here on slave ships. That's exactly how the forefathers of the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American people came over here. Our people, they came over here on slave ships. They said, and the Lord shall bring thee unto Egypt again with ships. By the way, so that means when you look at Exodus chapter 1, and verse 1, it talks about how the souls that came into Egypt. It's talking about the first time that they walked into Egypt, and that was the first time that God put a punishment upon Israel in Genesis. And then the second time, he said, in the Lord, the second Egypt would be Solomon and Gomorrah. You see what I'm saying? I'm gonna read a couple of more, and then I'm gonna stop it right here. Genesis, Exodus. Exodus chapter 1, verse 1. Now these are the names of the children of Israel which came unto Egypt. Every man and his household came with Jacob. Oh, and this was the first slavery that Israel went into. This was the first time they went into Egypt under bondage to Pharaoh. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah. Issachar, Zebulun, Benjamin, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. Asher would be the so-called Colombian. I think Dan would be another Native American people. You see what I'm saying? I think Gad would be I know Gad would be the Native American people. Zebulun would be South America, such as South Central America and all those places. You know what I'm saying? The people. Now you have to understand, to be an Israelite, your spirit have to bear witness with these scriptures. Bearing witness means you can relate to these things. So I'm gonna take time and I'm gonna break all that down in another video. But it says, and all the sons that came out of the loins of Jacob, that means those that the women that he impregnated and whatever, his sperm came out of the loins, the sperm of Jacob, were 70 souls, for Joseph was in Egypt already. See that? And so when you read right over here in Deuteronomy 28 and verse 68, it said, and the Lord shall bring thee unto Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies. For bondmen, that means slave woman, and it's a bondman mean a slave man, and bondwoman, that means a slave woman. And no man shall buy you. That means nobody will be able to redeem you out of this captivity. Nobody will be able to redeem you out of this captivity, but the Black Messiah, God, that come here and redeem his people out of this. So I'm gonna stop it right there, and I'm gonna come back, and we're gonna get off into it some more. And I think what would help me when our people go to asking questions and stuff like that, you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, I think I wanted to talk about, I think I kind of got, said pretty much right now what I wanted to say and everything. I know it's a lot of information, but I'll be back in another video, and we'll talk on this some more, and see y'all later.